This is the house we're going to draw. Now, this video is something I haven't done before, which is to do a drawing demonstration where I actually encourage you to draw along with me, and my video will be in real time. The reason I don't usually do videos in this way is I don't want to encourage copying my drawing, because copying doesn't teach us the skills of creating our own drawing. They're different skills. Therefore, can I encourage you to look to see what I draw and how I draw it and the tips I explain as I draw it. But then when you go to draw that section, draw it from the reference, not from my drawing. That way you're going to get the best of both worlds, of seeing a demonstration and understanding why it's been done that way, but then to develop the skill of applying all of that to a reference and then finding your own marks. And the first thing I did, which I've already done, is my 3 or 4 minutes of mark experimentation. I'm using a 0.1 Unipin pen. And in looking at this, I've decided I'm going to start on this side of the house, and I'm going to start with this section, this box section, and then go up, and then I'm going to come across, and then I'm going to keep coming across and establish where this tree edges in, and then I'm going to come across with the roof and with this gable up here. And then we'll explore how we can create the effect of the bricks. This is my start point. I'm going to go down, I'm going to go across. I'm not going to go across as far as I think I'm going to need to go, because I'm not sure how far that is. You can see I'm going very light. Now I've got 1, 2, 3 windows here, and then the windows slope back here, and I assume they slope back out of sight, covered by this ivy. So I'm afraid I'm probably going to default to being fairly silent when I'm concentrating on the drawing. And I haven't firmed up down here because we have the ivy coming across that. So now we can go up. So I'm looking at the proportions of this. And now we have 3 windows here as well. But these windows don't look to be as high as on the ground floor. why not pause the video here and you establish to this point, and then we can start again. So now we want to move across somewhat. So this dark section here is here. Sometimes it's good, it's actually a downpipe. Sometimes it's good to add some of those details so we can just see where we're up to, and I'm going to use these to align them with this section to help me position accurately. And so this section is really just above that line. And this section is just a bit above here. I better put the bottom of these in. And now we have this section across here that's level with there. And where does it go down to? We've got these bricks here, so that's about there, maybe just a bit higher. Then we've got that, which will be that, and then we've got this section here. And this is actually part of the fence. Better not take that down too far. And then here we have the bottom of the house lining up with that. So, and that should be the proportion of the door. Room for this, I'll leave that hedge there. Yep, a bit out of whack here. So I'll just correct it slightly. And now these line up. So aligning things across, and now we have the top of this. That's going to really be just above there and in the middle. There we have that. Just help it read as a door a little more easily. So now we have this gable that comes up to about there. So not quite as straight as we'd like, and perhaps not quite as angled out as I could have done, but never mind. So now we've drawn that line, so I'm just going to put this part under here in there to help us just keep track of that. And now we know we've got the downpipe down here. And I'm just going to put this line in, and feel free to draw on the reference if you've printed it out. Okay, I'm just going to slide it along. Now, this doesn't sit halfway, notice. And this window is wider. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. So if you want to do this next section by moving across, just stop this video and I'll see you in a moment. So now we get the fun bit of establishing where this tree is going to come in on the right hand side there. Before we do that, I might just move across and capture this edge down here. Now the actual corner is hidden by this ivy. But it looks like this here represents this section, and most unwisely the ivy has grown up. And so I'm doing that because I'll need to draw the ivy at some point, but I just want to, in my head, really get this point, that point, to help me see the width right across the house. So now over here, I'm going to really look at this section. Well, I can establish this as very slightly above where those are. I don't know how far to take that yet. And up here, I've got the same thing. And so now I'm looking really at this shape, those proportions. And so I'm actually positioning the windows through negative space. And then I've got one window. And this window is, I think, the same size as this one. And now we come into the tree. Now here, this lines up with there. See how easy it is? And now here, this lines up with here. So let me see with that. So that's going to be here. Yep. But I've also kept this loose because there's sort of vegetation coming up from there. So now we've got this. Which I really established by simply getting this dark shape there. And this is a wider window than those. And this goes across to really past that one there. All right, so I'll leave you to get this section worked out now. All right, so now we're going to go upwards. And so what I'm looking at is, I'm looking at this section and this rectangular space, which really looks the same height as down here, which I know is that high. So therefore that helps me get it picked there. Now, I don't know exactly how far across to go here, except I can see that it's going to be approximately like somewhere where the next window would be. So, you know, about there somewhere. So, oops, not very straight, is it? Gosh, I've made a mess of seeing how thick that is because I've just made it look thinner. but I'll go on it being the same as what I've been doing. Okay, so now get to draw this window up here, and it's a bit wider and probably the same height as what we have down here. So it really lines up on each side. So now it goes up a little bit here. Now on this side, let me see. So we could just do that, 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 and then probably the same distance. So it's going to be about there. We want the same distance from here to here. Here to here, here to say about there. Okay, and so now we have that and we have that. And we've got this section up here. So I've got that height. Oh goodness, I forgot to put this white block in. So let's do that. And so from there to there, looks about the same as from there to there. So from there to there, there to there. How's that looking? Well, let's position this dormer window here. So on this side, it sort of comes down to just past there. And on this side, it comes down to about there. And it's about that far up. And it goes up, if we look at, say, here, just a bit above there. So how does that look? Yeah, that looks okay, I think. Maybe bring it down slightly. Okay, all right, let's have a look. If this is in the right spot and it's going to here, then the angle's going to look like that, which looks pretty good. And now, if we come down the other way, that looks pretty good too. So now it goes up, and it goes up, and it goes, oops, it goes, oops. So I think we can disguise that a little bit though. Okay, I'm going to leave you now to work at plotting this. We're getting very close now. We do the roof, we pop these elements in, and then we're going to look at the surface textures, if you like. All right, going to do a few things first. I'm going to just put in the fence line because that will be handy to have sooner rather than later, and there's nothing to stop us doing it easily. So this moves across with a slight downhill. We do have this post here. So this is sort of like about there. I'm not, my problem is I'm not sitting straight onto this. So it's actually angled on my page. So we will just correct that somewhat with this. So I need to actually put this in. So it's going to go, this pole is sort of going to go about there. And it comes down to about there, and it's going to come down to just past this. So that will do. And now it comes up to about there. Now you might ask, why am I putting this sign in? Like, what does the sign bring? Well, it brings a sense of authenticity to this being a real location, a real street. And see how I had to add it first. Sometimes we can leave out so much detail that while it's easier to draw, the overall effect is a little artificial. Now I'm going to finish this roof section, and I'm looking at this, and I'm also looking at where this lines up with, which is there. And this is, and I'm actually going to look at this to here first, which is going to be to there and to there. How's that looking? A bit wobbly. I'm going to put this goodness. I don't know why I put that there, because I didn't connect it to the right place. So that's okay. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. But you'll have the chance to not do that. And we do see just this chimney is for the neighbour's house, so we're not going to worry about that. In my experience, it's very, very easy to draw chimneys way too large for the building that they're on. So I always aim to go a bit smaller. So we'll just establish potentially where this is going to be. And now we're going to worry about the textures. I'm going to put some tape around here, dots to indicate where the borders are. I'll finish this while you catch up with this section now. How's your house going? The first thing I think I'm going to do is some indication of this foliage. Remember, we're not trying to draw leaves, we're trying to draw or capture the effect of all the leaves together. So we're looking at this really as a surface that comes out, goes in a fairly complex way, a fairly small scale way. It moves in and out, but there are some large shadow areas, and there are some areas that are more in sunlight and some that are partly in sunlight, and so we're trying to create an overall value for that, an overall darkness of lights and darks that will, along with the silhouette edge we create, will suggest foliage. Since this video is going a lot longer than my normal ones, I'm going to make this foliage hatching double speed. So you can use the cog icon to slow the video down to half speed if you want to see it actual time. When we get down here, it's at a glance hard to see exactly what's happening. So I don't want to be any more precise in what I do to represent that, because I want to capture that same visual ambiguity, because that helps to give the sense of it looks real. Generally, it's best not to try and actually write the letters on this. It almost always looks poorly done. Better to try and capture the effect of the letters in the same way we try and capture the effect of the leaves without drawing them exactly. Okay, we'll leave it at this for now. We've now got the ivy that's coming up here. So the ivy gives a very kind of broken effect to this line, which is, you can see now why I didn't want to draw it as a straight line. And similarly, I'll speed up this ivy drawing foliage to double actual drawing speed as well. Now I might even here just try and do a few individual leaves just to make it easier to appreciate what it is we're looking at. But again, I don't want to draw too many, or else before I know it, I've drawn them everywhere and I have to draw them everywhere. So I'll pause here and let you catch up. How's that gone? Have you got something that looks a bit like what I have in front of me? But first, a bit of ivy I forgot. And these next sections of detail I am going to bump up to double speed. So use the cog icon to watch them at actual speed if you want. And let's put this bush in here. Ah, man, I just realized what I've done wrong. I hatched over this white band, which is a real problem because now it really deadens that center section. So make sure you don't do that. Oh, hang on, hadn't quite finished. Now for the brickwork, I've been using a 0.1. I'm now going to switch to a 0.05 and in a Now, the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to be drawing every brick, but I do want to give some sense and create some sense of the value of the dark bricks, because that makes the white banding stand out more, which is visually a fairly important part of this overall scene. So what I'm doing is I'm doing some very light, very close together lines using my 0.5, but still drawing as closely together and as lightly as I can. And then I'm going to do some dots which are to represent the downward lines. I'm not going to try and draw downward lines because I won't be able to get them close enough together. And I'm really only wanting to suggest the detail. And to try and keep this video under 40 minutes, I've sped up this brickwork section a little bit more again. But remember, you can use that cog icon to slow it down and get a slower sense of what I was doing. But I'm basically still doing the same thing I was doing just a moment ago. The important thing is that we get these line widths pretty much as close as the brickworks are. We don't want to make the bricks look larger because that will change the whole sense of scale. Now here we have, I'm not sure if they're shingles or if they're actually tiles that are put on the outside. And I'm going to do a little bit of hatching here just to give a sense of the darker value. One of the things left, there's a few things actually. We do have the slates. just going to look at the curtains. I think it really is good to try and give a sense of the life that's behind the window. And I'll just grab this one back and let's just make a little bit darker this section. And oh, we've got the brickwork down here. Let's put this gutter in, shall we? And we probably should give some indication of this house that's next door. Now remember, we don't want this drawing, this building, to in any way overwhelm or draw the eye from taking in and understanding what's happening. So just keeping it fairly quick. And time for the tape to come off. Always fun. Usually at this stage, I spot something that I haven't done. Where's my 0.05? G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. I hope you have a go drawing this. There's a link to the reference in the video description, or you might like to just draw it from a screen while you watch my demo if it's large enough for you to do that. So why not have a go? If you'd like more videos like this, I'll know from the number of people who watch them and how long they watch them for. But in the end, whatever you draw, however you draw it, however long or short it takes, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.